My guest today built a sunglasses company, raised half a million from 27 investors, then went bankrupt. Then he became a Georgetown professor, and now he's building the future of work by matching CEOs with fractional executives. Mike Malloy believes the best salespeople never sell, they give relentlessly until the deal comes to them. Welcome, Mike Malloy.
Thanks for having me today. Excited to be on the show.
Mike, you went from Deloitte to selling sunglasses to going bankrupt. What did bankruptcy teach you that Deloitte couldn't?
Uh, it taught me a lot of humbling lessons. Definitely how to have difficult conversations. One of the key financial lessons that I learned was about cash conversion cycles. I was actually a math and computer science major. Like I studied math. I was very good with numbers, but didn't learn all the numbers with the dollar signs in front of them. In particular, if I had to pay Italy, in January, but people weren't going to pay me until May. But then when I dropped it off, the surf shop said, "Hey, we'll pay you net 30." And I literally smiled and nodded and said, "Yeah." And then I had to go in the car and look up, like, what does net 30 mean? What? I got to come back 30 days later? And then they're like, "Oh, can we do net 60?" Like it rained a lot. We don't have a lot of, and so it was definitely some hard lessons learned there, especially with a physical product. Now, in the fractional executive matchmaking business, similar to a lot of your listeners in the kind of professional services arena, it's a little different than having to pay to manufacture a product and wait to get it sold through to the end consumer. I would say another really important lesson was separating my own self-worth and value from the business's worth and value. A business can fail, and that doesn't mean you are a failure. It's easy for me to say a decade later. It was a lot harder to kind of work through um, that grief and loss while shutting down the business. But
How did you do
yeah,
that? Because most people listening, including myself, we still struggle with it. When the business is going
yeah.
well, we feel great. When the pipeline is dry, we don't feel great. So how did you do that?
So there's a simple framework that you can add, and it's a couple of questions at the beginning of your staff meetings with your team. And it's 1 through 10, how are you feeling personally? And 1 through 10, how are you feeling professionally? And there's no sevens. The seven is a cop out. And if you have to pick between a six or an eight, there's a clear one way or the other. And if you make it a habit, and it's something you do, we do this every Monday. We got about 15 people on our core team, and we'll go around and how's everybody feeling? And if somebody's a six or lower in either of those categories, we'll talk about it. Maybe it's an offline, hey, somebody's family member's in the hospital, like, yeah, you're going to be a three, but they're doing great at work. Or, hey, we ran this big campaign and it failed miserably, but I also have my wedding anniversary next week, so I'm feeling great because I got something nice for my spouse. Um, that is a really healthy way to separate the two and not have them so intertwined. We also after that we have people share what's one thing they're grateful for and one thing they've learned in the past week. And learned in a broad sense, it reinforces our core value of being flexibly learning and having a growth mindset. And it also means like I don't have to learn everything. I have 14 other people who can learn stuff and just tell me they learned things, and I get a little snippet of it. And there's a bonus point of you learn things better when you have to teach it to somebody else.
You crafted relentlessly generous. It's on your website. It was in preparation to this. Relentlessly generous, relentlessly generous. I associate these two words now with you. Where is the line between being generous and being reckless?
Oh, interesting place where you took that. I think it is reckless when you are giving to takers. And there's a Adam Grant book and TED Talk about givers, matchers, and takers. The most successful people in the world are givers. The least successful people in the world are also givers because they're reckless and they get taken advantage of by takers and people who want to, take from them as it sounds and kind of step on their shoulders and get a leg up and not pull them up with you. If you can surround yourself with other givers and even matchers who are a little bit more, keeping score and keeping things balanced, like that's fine. But the idea is like, and I'll quote Zig Ziglar, who's a big role model of mine. Like, if you can help enough other people get whatever they want in life, then you can have whatever you want in life. And that's really how I live my life. It's how I built my business. One of our biggest filters as we're vetting our fractional executives is making sure that they're givers. And like when I do onboarding with new fractionals, I say like if you don't consider yourself a giver, like let's just end the call now and you can leave because like this isn't the right place for you to work because we strive to set the bar high and then exceed that and over promise over deliver is a good way of thinking about it.
How can we spot a giver in the context of sales?
Um, Great question. I think people should always be, and especially in sales, like you should have things that you can give that are valuable that you will give away for free because people do business with those they know, like, and trust and are in flow with and kind of have communication with. There's research that shows the average human values their email address at $12. So if you have a lead magnet you want somebody to download, there better be $12 worth of value in the PDF or whatever it is for them to want to give you their email address. If there's $50 or $100 or $1,000, like, well, that's a no-brainer, you know. And my back of the napkin math is whatever someone's going to pay me, I want to deliver five, at least five, hopefully 10 times as much value. So if you're paying us $10,000 a month for a fractional executive, we want to be giving you $100,000 worth of value. And there's a corollary here of like small hinges swing big doors. Like if you're a $100 million business, it's a lot easier to give you $100,000 worth of value. If you've only ever made $10,000 in your garage and you're just getting started, it's kind of tough to give you $100,000 worth of value. And so it does depend on the stage of the business with that regard. I also think people can help others with their time, talent, and treasure. And it usually starts with the time. Let's meet, let's have a 15-minute discovery call, see if there's a there, maybe do some qualifying with BANT, is there budget, authority, need, timeline. And then if yes, hey, this was a great first call, gives me a sense of where you're at, would love to schedule, an hour scalability audit to really dive into your business, see what's going on, give you some recommendations that hey, you can do it yourself, we can do it with you, we can do it for you, we can kind of explore what that looks like when we have some more time together.
You have 400 plus fractional executives in your network. When a CEO tells you, I need a VP of sales, what do they actually need that they cannot see yet?
Uh, Great question. And there's a few different things they might need. And we've actually categorized fractional sales executives in 7 different buckets. So they might need a leader of the whole sales team. They might need a manager of their AEs and BDRs. They might need an individual contributor. Do they need somebody to just like carry a bag and go sell? Or an end-to-end salesperson who's going to touch everything from top of the funnel to closing the deal? Or a trainer who's going to be a sales trainer might teach them, a new sales methodology, or one of the things I think we'll talk about later is this 4 levers negotiating framework. The author of the book, Todd Capone, super smart guy, great sales trainer. Or they might need a coach, somebody who can actually coach, especially for B2B sales. We have a few like B2B deal coaches that are absolutely brilliant. And when you have live deals that are somewhere in the funnel, there's some friction and you're getting ghosted or you've got an internal champion, but they're not really internally championing that well for you. He can help you understand what to equip them with, what different collateral, talk tracks, forwardable messages to increase the velocity. Time kills all deals. So like, what can you do to increase that velocity? Um, and so I think I highlighted the different types of fractional sales executives. And what was your the original question was like, what do they need that they don't know they need?
Yes, and you kind of explained it. Sometimes they need leadership, sometimes they need the playbook,
Yeah.
sometimes they need somebody who crafts the playbook, sometimes they need it who runs the playbooks and follows up, etc.
And I'd say one of the big things is like they need a grown up to run their weekly sales pipeline meeting. Almost no CEOs, 'cause almost every company starts with founder led sales, and like I did that with my business. I now have a sales team of 7, and we have a fractional CRO because I drink my own Kool-Aid. We hire a lot of fractionals to help us build, who he runs the weekly sales pipeline meeting on Mondays, and he's my boss when I show up to that meeting. My name's on the door, but like I report to Assad, and like I know I made 3 commits last week that I have to have done by this meeting. I know we're going to go through our pipeline audit and kind of figure out okay, what are the next steps for all of these deals. He also does one-on-ones with the BDRs and AEs each week to check in how are they doing. Part of it is kind of sales coaching and supporting. Part of it is also just like mentally sales, especially if you're calling 1,000 people a week. you hear no a lot. And so making sure that the resilience is there, and he'll do call reviews as well. So like we use Fathom to record all of our meetings, and as the kind of sales leader, the sales manager, will pick a call from last week, watch it, and he taught me this great framework that I love when you're doing a call feedback. It's I love and I wish, and you pick one thing that you love and one thing you wish they would do differently. Not three, not five, not 10. You're not piling on them because people can only take so much feedback. And there's also some neuroscience of you don't just like slam on the feedback. You have to say, hey man, do you have a minute? Do you mind if I give you some quick feedback? And the person has to say yes to know that they are open to receiving it. And as a pro tip for your listeners, this also works with your spouse and children. You know, you can't just give them feedback if they're not willing to receive it. It's just going to lead to some conflict.
Explain the 5 times 7 rule. You said it changed your life. How? How?
Yeah, so the 5 by 7 rule says that if you have 5 interactions with someone in the first 7 weeks, you have a friend for life. And it could be meeting them at an event, one, and then you send them a follow-up email, and you say, hey, I saw this article, thought of you, a couple weeks later, and then, hey, you want to hop on a Zoom and talk about how we might work together or some related topic. Um, and then the fifth one, if you're like me, you can actually send direct mail. So I've got, this is a postcard here that says, make today your lucky day. And then on the back, it's got some info you can really see about St. Patrick's Day and some facts, but also about fractional executives. Um, and I'm a big believer in direct mail in 2026. I think last year we sent 10 different holiday cards, like basically one a month to like several hundred current, future clients, as a way to stay in flow with them and to show up not just in their inbox where they get, hundreds of emails a day, but not too many people send you actual physical cards where the front is nice enough to go on the fridge and the back has dad jokes that you can tell your kids. Um, and so let's see, what do we got here? Um, why should you never iron a 4-leaf clover? Because you don't want to press your luck.
Pressure like.
There you go.
So 5 experiences in the first 7 weeks. That's
Yeah.
the magic formula. And when you match CEOs with fractional leaders, what is the number one mistake a 2 million SaaS founder makes when they try to hire their first sales leader?
The number one mistake is going to be that they try to clone themselves and they want just like a second you who's going to sell the same way you do. Like, I always do this and it works great. Like, why can't you sell the way I do? No other human being on the planet is going to have your zest and founder origin story and personal network because most of the first people who bought from you, they already knew you. You had an existing relationship. If you're doing true cold outbound, they know nothing about you. You have to work to build the know, like, and trust. Um, and I have a couple other mistakes if it's all right. Can I share a couple other
Sure.
mistakes for people to watch out for? Yeah. Um, I think one uh, is you shouldn't base it on a single conversation. It should be at least 2 or 3 interviews. Like maybe you bring somebody else in on your team, and whether you find them as a stranger on the internet, on LinkedIn, through another firm, you come through Malloy Industries, like at least on our side, we're going to vet them and we'll help facilitate those interviews. Um, but it shouldn't be like, oh, you had one meeting, it was really great. Hey, here's, $15,000 a month. Like, do some research there, understand who else have they um, worked with. And it's also a risk if you hire somebody without understanding what their current capacity is. So for fractional executives, they typically have between 1 to 5 clients for 1 or 2 days a week each. If doing this as like their core operating model, there's another risk or mistake is you hire somebody who as a fractional, but they're actually a full-time employee who just lost their job and is trying to make money until they get their next full-time job. And then a month or two later, they get a full-time job and they say, hey, I'm out. And that it hasn't happened with us. Like all of our fractionals are like full-time fractional executives. This is their livelihood. I don't do fractional curious or I'm just trying to like make the rent. These are people who love the work, and I think there's an inherent risk when you hire a stranger on the internet. Like you post on LinkedIn, hey, I need a fractional CFO, random people say, "Hey, I'm a fractional CFO," but what if they don't work out? And how can you know that this is going to be a good fit? And one of the things that we've done for a few years now is we offer a second match free guarantee. If we match you with a fractional executive, it's a lifetime guarantee now, where if at any point it doesn't work out, we'll step in, understand why, and we'll replace them with somebody new for free. Because the biggest pain, and like it's bad for our whole industry, is you find a stranger, you pay them a bunch of money for 3 months, they did nothing, you have to fire them, and now you're back at square one. You don't know where to find the next one. And you inherently don't trust the fractional model because somebody tried to pull a fast one on you. Um, and it doesn't, I mean, it doesn't happen often. I'm not saying like all fractional executives are bad, but I'm highlighting the risk of finding an individual that isn't through, a company that specializes in this type of thing.
What's a typical duration and monthly revenue of a fractional salesperson that you find for clients, or a range?
Yeah, there's definitely a range. And I can think of one client like we've been working with for 3 years now, and will probably continue in perpetuity. Typically, everything starts with 3 to 6 months. It takes a little while to ramp up to get to know the product. There are variables to keep in mind, such as how big is the average contract value? How long is the average sales cycle? If you're selling something in a month or two, then like, okay, by month 3 or 4, there should be some money coming in. We've got a client that sells to healthcare, like hospitals and healthcare centers. It's like a 6 to 18 month sales cycle, and so like that's going to take a while to get the money in, but there are definitely gates that deals can go through in terms of, is it a qualified lead? Do we get a first meeting? Okay, do we have a demo? Like, we met other stakeholders in the organization? Like, what are those stages that you can map out in HubSpot or whatever CRM you're using? Um, so I'd say like 6 months is a good place to start. And revenue, when you said monthly revenue, is that like how much sales they're generating on a monthly basis,
No, more the
or how much
costs on the
the
client
investment? Okay,
side. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Our clients pay between 5 to 25K a month for their fractional executive. I would say 10 to 15K is kind of the sweet spot for like a fractional VP of sales, director, CRO. Like, I am agnostic on what job title you want to give people. A job title, at least in the fractional world, like we don't have egos. Like, I don't need to have a fancy title. What does have to happen is that the person I'm selling to has to think my title is fancy enough that they will respect and want to work with me, and not be like, let me talk to your boss because you're just, a junior BDR or whatever. Um, yeah, I think the like external perspective of the title matters more. Um, but I think that like 10 to 15K is kind of a good sweet spot.
The AI question is in the room. How is AI changing your client's approach, your approach right now?
Yeah. Um, Sorry, what does AI stand for? I haven't heard that word before.
It's this new thing where robots help you.
Oh, sweet. I've got a great robot called Claude. And so I've been on the Chat GPT bandwagon for a couple of years. I've used a few other tools. As of last month, we moved our whole business onto Claude. Everything is in there. It has a great memory. We have our team uses it. Um, I will give a cost saving hack here. Use a tool like Bitwarden or LastPass, something like a password sharer, and then you can just create like one account, not a team account, and pay a bunch of money per software. Like, we have one Claude for 20 bucks a month that my whole team can use. And I think if we hit the limit, maybe we'll pay a little bit more. But just the idea of like sharing it so that there's a central knowledge base. Um, and there's a concept too of building like a digital brain, like a second brain for you or for the company, so that not only does it go into Claude, but like you can move to different AI tools and bring this with you so that it has a foundational understanding of your business, what you sell, the price points, all those things. Um, and it is worth the time and energy to invest in building that out. And I know, at least in Claude, you can say like, update your memory,
Yeah.
change it from 400 fractional executives to we actually have 600 relentlessly generous fractional executives. So make sure you use that, in future answers.
Because I'm thinking myself 3 years ago as a fractional, I would need a month ramp up time to really understand the products, the pricing, the profitability of each product, the objections. Now with Claude Max, I
Yeah.
probably need 3 hours. You can parachute me
Mhm.
into any industry, I just need access to the folders, and if there is a CRM, or even if it's just spreadsheets, I will pull everything into Claude, and 2 hours later, I'm an expert in because I have the data, right? So,
Yeah.
is this
Can
something?
I riff on this for a minute?
Yeah,
Yeah.
please.
There's a really good book I listened to this year called The AI Driven Leader, and I have some book notes for it. I will also throw a pro tip. You don't have to read all the books anymore. Ask Claude or your favorite AI to create a book summary of the AI driven leader and apply it to my business and be specific in there. And the thesis, the number one thing I took from this book was that every prompt should have CRIT, which stands for context. So give it the background, attach some files, email thread, whatever. The R is role, so act as Chris Voss, expert negotiator. I had a parent-teacher conference the other day, so I said act as Dr. Becky from Good Inside and like help me prepare for my preschool parent-teacher conference. It's the first time I had to go to one of those, and it was helpful. I got like a list of questions to ask. The I, and this is the one I think a lot of people slack on, is interview me. And so it's a simple two sentences. It says, uh, ask me three questions, ask one at a time, and then T is task. And what's great about the interviewing is like the AI knows that it wants to know more information to do a better job. But unless you ask it to ask you, it's not going to ask you. And when you view AI as a thought partner, and this really hit home for me yesterday, actually, because my chief of staff is currently traveling around Italy on vacation for 3 weeks. And you leave me alone for 3 weeks, who am I going to talk to? Like, Tina, where are you? And so I talked to Claude for a few hours last night about a bunch of stuff, and like it had some really good questions and helped us think about um, our go-to-market strategy and things that we can do to better serve our clients and stuff that I probably would have done with Tina, but like it was a great thinking partner. And I also like Claude because the output is like beautifully formatted Word docs. That can be used to share internally, can be given to clients, can be fed back into Claude as an input. Like we have, I think, an 18-page ideal client profile for who we serve. Yeah, and Jimmy Reeves, he's like a 38-year-old B2B SaaS CEO, and he's got a doing 13 million. Like it's a whole thing, a whole life, day in the life, and all this, which helps us like think about who are we, designing all of our marketing and sales for. Do it for one person, not like all people who own companies.
This is amazing. Uh, my favorite pastime right now is building Claude skills for clients. This is just what I built today, like the revenue optimizer, the profit optimizer, the luck optimizer, the GTM strategy advisor, the CFO, because sometimes they don't have a pro CFO. So
Yeah,
now, guys, you call Mike Malloy of Malloy Industries, but if you don't have that, you need a Claude CFO right now for today, for the next couple hours. And it's amazing how good it is if you give it the right context and if you feed it enough models and enough information. It's amazing what they can do.
totally.
So tell us about what you are currently building at Malloy Industries.
Yep, absolutely. So, our core business around helping CEOs grow and scale by recognizing that they can't wear all the hats and do all the things. And we're all in that fractional is the future of work. And so we've developed a 6-week program. It's called the Strategic Clarity and Matchmaking Program, where the first 2 weeks, it's like putting the business up on the mechanics rack. And we're going to look at every single part of the machine, what's working, what's not. It's also kind of like going to the dentist where they like tap all your teeth and you're like, like few of the molars back there, they hurt because you haven't quite been brushing or you don't have somebody on your team who is an expert in your paid ad strategy or your customer success and delivery side isn't going great because nobody's doing weekly or monthly check-ins with clients. You have no idea if they're happy and you're so surprised when they churn. Um, we can come in and really figure out like what is the thing in your living room on fire that like, hey, we have to solve this right away. This is the biggest constraint. But by the way, you also have like 3 dumpster fires out back that like we should probably fix within the next 3 to 6 months. Let's start on the biggest constraint, the most expensive problem, and we can bring in a fractional executive to solve that. And then they'll build a scalable solution And what we love to do is teach your team how to fish. Let's train the team on how to then execute, operate this. And then we'll do another strategic business review with you to figure out, okay, what's the next biggest constraint? Okay, who's the next best fractional executive? Like we had a client last year that had 8 different fractionals from us over the course of the year, but no more than 3 at a time. So we kind of prioritized certain parts of the business that they needed to fix, from operations to HR to marketing to then sales and go to market. Um, and I always tell people that, like, you know, if the founder is still doing the finance, accounting, bookkeeping, any of that, like, no. Like, let's start there. That is something that should go to a fractional CFO or an accountant or a bookkeeper, depending on how complex the money stuff is. You need somebody who that's just the way their brain thinks, and that's rarely the founder. There's more visionary, kind of like you and me. Um, and the other area that like should never doing is HR. Like as you're hiring, whether you're hiring fractional or full time, like we can help with both of those. We specialize in fractional, but you know, but last fall we helped a company hire, I think, 6 full-time people in 4 months. Like they were growing. They're like, hey, we need these things as we're, getting into these new markets. Yeah, we could do that. But the CEO shouldn't be the one doing the HR onboarding paperwork or managing the applicant tracking system. Like they should interview them and like make sure they're a culture fit and kind of sign off before they join. But like they're not the day one, let me get you access to Google Drive. Like, no, like you should get a kind of an on-demand HR person from Malloy Industries or someone else. But that is a couple places where I know the founder should be doing it. And then our bread and butter is definitely in scaling the go-to-market, transitioning out of founder-led sales. The founder can still be selling and do that, but like, how do you go from 3 million to 10 million? It's not the founder sells more. And if you're struggling there, it's like you don't have the right people in key roles. Um, yeah.
I love this, and everybody needs this. Where can they find you?
Yep. You can find us at malloyindustries.com, MALLOYINDUSTRIES.com. My email is mike@malloyindustries.com. Feel free to send me an email. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. And yeah, like my mission in life is to help entrepreneurs flourish, freeing them from the work that drains them and empowering them with our relentlessly generous fractional executives.
Relentlessly generous, guys. Mike Malloy, everybody. Thank you so much for being on the show, bringing the good stuff. Please keep rolling, Mike. See you soon.
Thank you, my friend. Take care.